believe it's entirely possible, if not nearly indisputable, based on how you discovered her here.
If it was just Abigail.
How did he get that in his mouth?
Believed.
Or his throat, I guess.
I would have believed that I got so far inside Hobbs's head I couldn't get out.
See, that's what I was
But
saying.
it wasn't just Abigail.
Hannibal had to try and take it on that serial killer route. Will can't believe that.
No. All sense of who you are has been distorted by your illness. You know who you are in this moment. That's not always the case, Will.
I didn't kill any of them. And somebody is making sure that no one believes me.
If we're to prove you didn't commit these murders, perhaps we should consider how you could have. And then disprove that. If you are this killer, that identity runs through these events like a thread through pearls. Cassie Ball would have been your first victim. You said her crime scene was practically gift-wrapped.
Told me everything I needed to know to catch Garrett Jacob Hobbs.
You had seen one of Hobbs's victims, you knew how he killed. You may have been exploring how he killed to better understand who he was.
I wasn't in Minnesota when Cassie Boyle was murdered.
She disappeared on a Saturday. She was found on a Monday.
He's gonna figure it out.
Weekends to do your work.
I know I didn't kill her.
How do you know? What did you think when you first met Maurice? How much like Abigail she was? Same height, same weight, hair color, same age.
How could I resist?
So much like his daughter, you may have wondered why Garrett Jacob Hobbs didn't kill her himself. Dr. Sutcliffe wasn't killed, how Garrett Jacob Hobbs killed. He was murdered, or you imagined yourself murdering a woman only days before.
How Georgia Manchin killed. She dreamt she saw me killing Sutcliffe, but she couldn't see my face. And then she was murdered.
You catch these killers by getting into their heads. But you also allow them into your own. I'm trying to help you, Will.
He knows.
Minnesota.
He knows.
I want to see where Abigail died.
You be my mom, and you be the man on the phone.
Putting all the pieces together.
Are we going to reenact the crime? Assume the shape of a man filled with dark and swarming flies. And then I scattered them.
At a time when other men fear their isolation, yours has become understandable to you. You're alone because you are unique.
I'm as alone as you are.
If you follow the urges you kept down for so long, cultivated them as the inspirations they are, you would have become someone other than yourself.
I know who I am.
Is this what you want? Does he want Will to be a protege? Not Abigail?
I'm not so sure. I know who you are anymore. But I am certain one of us killed Abigail.
Whoever that was killed the others. Are you a killer, Will? You. Right now, this man standing in front of me. Is this who you really are?
I am who I've always been. The scales have just fallen from my eyes. I can see you now.
What do you see?
You called here that morning. Abigail knew. You kept her secrets. Until what? Until she found out some of yours.
You said it felt good to kill Garrett Jacob Hobbs. Would it feel good to kill me now?
No, Garrett Jacob Hobbs was a murderer. Are you a murderer, Dr. Lytle?
What reason would I have?
Oh, Jack, no, this is terrible timing.
You're no traceable motive. Which is why you were so hard to see. You were just curious what I would do. Someone like me. Someone who thinks how I think. Wind him up and watch him go. Apparently, Dr. Lytle
Figured it out.
This is how I go. Will. Easy.
Finally going to be the patient who cost you your life.
It didn't cost me my life. It cost Abigail hers. Your veal is getting cold.
Controversial dish.
Don't eat it.
Veal.
Abigail.
Those who denounce veal often cite the young age at which the animals are killed, when they are in fact older than many pigs going to slaughter.
You have to be careful, Hannibal. They're starting to see your pattern.
What pattern would that be?
You develop relationships with patients who are prone to violence. That pattern, under scrutiny, Jack Crawford's beliefs about you might start to unravel.
Tell me, Dr. Dumoyer, have your beliefs about me begun to unravel?
What are her beliefs about him? It just continues to be a mystery. She obviously has greater insight into him than most people.
Hello, Dr. Lytle.
Smiling. Oh, God. Wow. Wow. That was quite the season finale there. Wow, what an episode. Okay, so, I mean, we're left in a very interesting place going into season 2, now that Will is very much aware of who and what Hannibal is and what he's done to him, but no one else has any clue, and in fact, everyone else has come to accept and believe that everything that Hannibal had done, in fact, Will has done, and he's institutionalized. People both believing that he's a killer and that there's either a possibility that he's just a straight up serial killer psychopath, or that he's delusional due to physical ailments, encephalitis. Neither one of those puts him in a good position to convince anyone that he is indeed innocent and Hannibal is guilty, nor is he in a place where he can go out and gather more evidence to support this, so I don't know what in the world is going to happen next season, that how Will is possibly going to prove his innocence, and how he's possibly going to convince anyone that Hannibal is the actual killer. I mean, maybe Alana will somewhat believe him about the idea that at least that he's not a serial killer. She doesn't seem to be on board with that idea, which Jack is afraid of, but I don't know. Maybe Hannibal's therapist could have something to do with it. I mean, she seems to be the only one other than Will that has any sort of insight into the fact that he's not what he appears to be. Though I am very curious as to what it is that she actually thinks about him, what she knows. You know, she's said various things throughout the course of the season, but their conversations are always rather kind of, I guess, cryptic and hinting at things without saying them outright. You know, she's said a lot of things about him wearing, like, a person suit, you know, implying that she understands that he's not like most people. Said things about him being a man who can't really understand the concept of friendship, so it would be difficult for him to engage in it. So then she said here about, and also things about, you know, people seeing your pattern and talking about interactions with violent clients. So does she have an understanding that he, like, seeks out this sort of person, or that he's drawn to them, or does she know beyond that, that he tries to actively, like, provoke people? We still don't know what the situation exactly was with the patient of hers that Hannibal sent to her, who then turned around and attacked her and died, swallowing his tongue somehow. You know, in the original Silence of the Lambs, there's this indication that he somehow talked a fellow prisoner in the asylum into swallowing his tongue, so did he somehow do that? Does she know this? Does she care? Because, I mean, she seems to have a sense that something is very wrong with Hannibal, or very different about him, but nonetheless she continues to treat him, even though apparently she treats no one else, and she's sitting there having a meal with him, and trying to, like, say, warn him about maybe people are gonna figure you out or something. So she's an utter mystery to me, and she's one of the things that I'm most curious about at this point. I thought it was interesting, the different reactions that we see among the characters when they come to conclude that, or believe that Will is the actual killer. You know, Jack seems to be willing to entertain the idea that Will is actually a psychopath and is manipulating all of them and pretending this. He doesn't, I mean, it seems like he doesn't want to believe that, but he's willing to think that it might be the case. And I also think it's interesting that when he was talking about these things early on, early in the episode, after they, you know, Will finds the ear, which, again, how did Hannibal make that happen? But I digress. When Will finds Abigail's ear, he throws it up, and then they call in Jack, and he is talking to Hannibal, and then even when he's talking to Alana, he seems to be, like, quiet, almost calm, and I mean, I don't know if it's just, like, he was living with this concern that Will was going to snap and break, and then when it seems like it happens, or he thinks that something has happened, that Will is killing people, he's just kind of resigned to it and accepting it in a way that, say, Alana wasn't. Alana had what I would expect as a more reasonable reaction, in that she kind of was outraged and talking about how all of them hold some responsibility. So I just thought it was interesting to see the different reactions, and then how that carries over to Jack being willing to entertain the idea of Will actively being a serial killer, and Alana being more like, no, that doesn't make sense. I also think it was interesting that Hannibal seems to have set out at first to convince Will himself that he was guilty, and for a while he had done so, but I think I mentioned this a couple of times, that didn't end up working out because Hannibal, I don't know if eventually he wanted Will to figure out the truth or not, or if he just went too far, but in framing Will to be like a serial killer planning all of these things, as opposed to just framing him for killing Abigail or killing a couple people after he was clearly ill, he made it look as though, you know, Will would have to accept that he was actively seeking out to murder people, that he was a serial killer. He would have to accept that he wasn't just physically ill, but that mentally there was something about him that drove him to actively choose to murder people, and he couldn't do that. So ultimately that's what leads him to figure out the truth, that it was Hannibal and that he was being set up. So again, I don't know if Hannibal just made a mistake, went too far, and he wanted Will to believe that he'd killed all of them, or if he wanted Will to figure out the truth eventually. I don't know. But this plays back into what I was saying about, you know, whether Abigail or Will, is Hannibal trying to see if he can create another serial killer, or if he can, like, have a protege, or if he's just trying to see, you know, if people pushed, if anyone pushed at a certain point can reach that level, or does he just think there's certain people that could be sort of like him? I don't know. Maybe, like, maybe he was just curious about everything, and that's what Will was saying to him at the end. You know, you just want to wind me up and watch me go. Somebody who thinks like me. So all of these things are playing in my head where I'm not sure what Hannibal's ultimate goal or motive was. In the end, he had a goal to frame Will, and that succeeded. But in terms of, you know, what his overall ideas or hopes were, I'm not fully certain. But I do also think it was interesting that, I don't know, that Hannibal's gonna keep going back, he's gonna keep playing with Will, he's still there, he smiled, you know, maybe he's kind of liking the fact that Will figured him out. Even though, I mean, that's not gonna be good for him ultimately. I mean, we know if they're not keeping with the storyline of the books, but eventually I'm sure we're gonna get to a point where everyone's gonna know the truth. Will's not just gonna be institutionalized forever, but yeah, so yeah, a great episode, a great season, looking forward to season 2. So I think I'll wrap this video up here for now. Poor Will. But at least, you know, at least Will now knows. Now he's had some treatment for the encephalitis, so he's doing better there. And he now is also aware that Hannibal is a serial killer, so he's not just being duped by Hannibal anymore. So there's that at least. We've got one positive of the situation, but... Alright, so that's going to be the end of this video, guys. Thank you very much for joining me, and hopefully I will see you next time. Bye.